What classes can I expect to take when enrolled in design college? That is a question that I get in my DMs a lot, and I figured it was finally time to make a video telling you guys what you should expect. And this is kind of going to go off the classes that I took when I was enrolled in design college. And just to let you guys know, I went to an all 4-year school, so I got my bachelor's, and I'm also going to show you examples of work, basically what I did in college, so I can give you guys some visual insight. Not all colleges and universities are the same, so the classes that I'm going to list, they may be described differently and they might entail like different things. So let's just get started. Okay, so we're gonna start with our basic art classes, and this is where you really start to kind of experiment with design. And you usually take these classes your first year of college or like your second year, and these are a must to take before you move on to like your studio classes. But you basically get to learn about color. It's like an introduction class to drawing, to 2D or 3D design. You learn about the principles of design, so like harmony, unity, lighting, elements, proportions, scale, contrast, balance, all that good stuff. Like you get to really understand the like the starting of design. Then you have your history classes, so it can be like history of art or history of interiors and architecture. I took both of those classes. And looking back, I did not really pay attention to history classes. I don't know why, because now I'm all about like learning history. And I know history is not everyone's cup of tea. Some people just like to look to the future. You also get to learn about the different eras of interior design, and it's really important to understand the different eras of interior design, because some people are still like into like the 1900s look, or there's still like these old houses that people want to restore and keep that timeless style. Then you have your software courses. So in my college, I got to learn AutoCAD, Revit, SketchUp, Photoshop, InDesign, and Illustrator, 3ds Max. Now, not all of the colleges and universities may offer all of these software classes at once, or they may offer just a few, but I would say the main key software to learn would be AutoCAD, Revit, and SketchUp, Photoshop, and InDesign too. So just make sure that they offer those, because I think those are like the most common softwares I have seen in this field, and all these different companies have their own preferred software, and they usually pick from one of those. I will note that even though I took Illustrator in my college years, I don't use that at all in my work experience, and till this day I have not touched Illustrator because I did not find the need to use that program. Moving on to interior design studio classes. So these classes are usually a semester long, and the project that you are presented on like the first day of your class is the same project that you will be presenting for your final. I was gonna say finale. So essentially, this is your big project. You are in charge of selecting the furniture, creating the floor plan, creating the 3D views, putting the presentation together, anything related to the project. You are in charge of it, and there will be guidelines and timelines for you to follow, but for the most part, this is like a test for you as a designer to make sure that you are on track on everything that you're supposed to be accomplishing and completing, because I know in college there were some last minute things, and a lot of people were crying because they weren't able to complete their renderings. But in these studio classes, you get to learn how to design different types of spaces. I know that for me, my college had for each year that I was in college, it had like a different type of studio class. So the first year was designing a lake house, and then after that it was designing a cafe, and then designing a restaurant and a condo combo, and then healthcare facility. And then for the thesis, I think I chose like a library. So you really get to learn about yourself as a designer, how you think creatively, how you kind of function, and you get to learn how to start a design from initial concept, how to solve problems using design and principles that you were taught early on, how to create functional and aesthetically pleasing spaces. So the teachers are there to guide you, but ultimately you have full control on how you want the design to be portrayed, and you are in control of like project managing this big project. So you have to be on top of your game on these studio classes because the time will go quickly, and before you know it, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, the final is due tomorrow. Oh yes, and I also want to note that you will be presenting your design to the entire class. I know it sounds very nerve-wracking. I was a nervous wreck when I came to presenting my design, and I think there were also like checkpoints throughout the semester where you had to kind of present your concept. So be prepared for that, and just yeah, I think you just have to have that mental note that you will be presenting this. Then you have textiles and material classes. It's pretty straightforward, where you get to learn about the materials and the durability of the fabric, the performance of a fabric, pretty much all that good stuff. And then there's codes. I feel like I'm always talking about codes. It's a really important class to take because this is about the safety of interior design and how certain measurements can impact a human experience and environment. So you basically get to learn about the different laws and codes and guidelines that interior designers have to follow. Is it a fun class? Maybe not so much, but it's such a useful class to take, and you will be well educated as a designer on like what not to do so you don't get sued when you are in the workplace. And down the line, you will have some type of class where you get to learn how to create the beautiful construction drawing sets, because there is a certain format on how to create these documents. You get to learn how to create elevations and section cuts, lighting plans, schedules, all that good stuff that when it comes to construction drawing sets, you know how to execute those. And I love those type of classes because I love getting like down to the nitty-gritty of measuring things and labeling things. I just really enjoy those types of classes and the technical side. Last but not least, I'm not too sure if all colleges or universities will offer this, but my college did offer this. It's a portfolio class. So basically all the projects and work that I have done like the first few years, I had to save all that work so I can use it for my portfolio class. And this basically helps you get set up for the real world and how to set up your portfolio documents so you can start applying to jobs. And it was like a really fun class because you can, you know, lay out your portfolio however you want, and the teacher encouraged us on how to self-brand ourselves, how to create our logo. So this is basically like, I think I took this my senior year of college. It's just getting you wrapped up and ready to start applying to those jobs. So there's actually one more class I almost forgot to mention too, and that is you will most likely find yourself taking a hand drafting class. Now, even though it is not practiced as much in the work environment, I think that is still a good class and a good skill to have and to learn as an interior designer, because knowing how to use the ruler, knowing how to hand draft a floor plan, knowing how to do things correctly is still good to know. And I think that, as I mentioned, like even though, well, I'm speaking for myself, like I didn't find myself using these hand drafting skills as much in the work environment, but it is still a good skill to have for yourself when you are when you are in the beginning of the design phase and creating the concept and sketching out a floor plan. It's a good idea to know how to do it, how to execute it. Now, because technology has advanced so much, I'm not too sure if colleges and universities are still offering these types of courses, but if they do, I would recommend taking it, trying it, because it's still a good class. Now, the next few classes I'm going to list are kind of filler classes, so they're not mandatory. These are classes that I took as optional, but they were still good classes to take. The first one was business and project management, and this is where it taught us how to start an interior design business, the roles of a project manager. It was kind of like a surface level class. It was still some good knowledge to learn. At that time, I wasn't too sure whether I would start my own design business, so I can't really remember much about what they taught. And I also took hand sketching and conceptual sketching classes, and I really enjoyed these because I love to draw back then I was really into drawing, so you basically were just drawing in these classes and listening to music, and I also got to hand render or learn how to hand render. So these were like really fun classes, and also because back then the times were really different. So designers at that time were still relying on drawing skills to get designs, to get your design point across. That's why I took those hand sketching classes. I took a lighting class, and I didn't really seem to like it as much because they got really technical on measuring lighting, and there's formulas, and it got really mathematical, and I just was like, this is like over my head. But it was good to learn about how lighting affects the interior environment, so that was pretty good to know. And I also took a photography class. It was really fun class. Ask me if I know how to take pictures now. I really don't as much. I don't really use a professional camera to take photos. And of course, there's the basic classes like English, math, science. I took 2 science classes, and I took 1 math class. It was one and done. And then I took like 7 types of English classes. There was like urban sociology, anthropology, women in literature. Those were mandatory and required. The person that you are in the beginning of college is definitely not the same person that you will be when you graduate, because all these courses and classes are going to teach you so much. I know that when I first enrolled and they were showing me examples of student projects, I was like, I'm gonna do that? I'm gonna be able to render like that? There's like, how? And when I graduated, I was like, oh, it just all seems so easy. So you develop like all these great skills throughout college. You really get to test yourself and your creativeness, and you basically just kind of glow up as a designer and be ready for the real world. Well, that is pretty much it. Those are the classes that you should expect to take when enrolled in design college. I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of work. It's gonna be very time consuming. It's gonna kind of take over your life a little bit, but it's so much fun. My heart was like so full when I was in design college, because I think when you have such a love for being creative and artistic, and when you are in like the arts field, you have such a passion for it that it just doesn't seem like a regular college or university for you. For me, it was really fun, although I didn't really have a life. But for the most part, I think you guys will enjoy design college. If you have any questions about it, drop your comments down below. If you are enrolled in design college, or if you are about to enroll in design college, drop it down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will catch you on the next video.